This podcast is sponsored by nobody.
Hey dudes, this is Marianne Walter, Deanne from the original Toolbox Murders. You're listening to Tommy Throwback Kovac on Splat from the Past. You may get some masturbatory pleasure.
Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming Michelle Falerne. Michelle played the female student who discovers the severed skull in Horror High, the 1973 horror cult classic, starring another guest of mine, Pat Carty, a few years ago. And we're going to be talking about that today. She's also a dancer and a filmmaker and a photographer. And she was in Gloria Estefan's video for Rhythm is Gonna Get You. And she was a costume designer on a horror film called Scum of the Earth, which I'm not too familiar with. And we're going to talk about all that stuff today, and I can't wait. Rest in peace, Angela Lansbury. I made reference to her in my previous interview today with Duncan Rager. She was one of the great, actresses from old Hollywood, that came from England. And, everyone thinks of her as Jessica Fletcher on Murder, She Wrote, which made her much more iconic than she already was. But she was also great in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, the Disney classic, The Manchurian Candidate, and so many other movies I'm forgetting. I mean, she has a career going way back before Murder, She Wrote. And everybody loved her. She was a consummate professional and just a talented lady and loyal, too. She put a lot of her old Hollywood friends in her movies and her TV and on Murder, She Wrote. Rest in peace, Angela Lansbury. So yeah, here is my interview with Michelle Falerne.
Hello.
Hey Michelle, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Yourself?
I am just spectacular. This is such a great honor. Thank you for taking the time today.
Okay. Before we start, I do want to put out something. Austin Stoker just died, just passed 2 days ago. I want to send love to his family.
I was going to mention that.
Mm-hmm. He played Lieutenant Bosman in Horror High. And I remember having a slight crush on him. He always had a twinkle in his eyes, sweetest guy in the world. And he just passed at 92, and he was acting still at that time.
Wow. That's so sad. But we're going to get into all of that in a bit. But going back in time, did you gravitate toward acting early on in your childhood?
Yes, I did. I was always making believe. And liking to... Well, first of all, I wanted to get in acting because I thought you played music while you were acting.
Mm-hmm.
It was really heartbreaking when I found out that they don't.
Yeah.
Just take after take after take, and they put it in afterwards. Because I was a dancer, so I get very motivated by music, and so but yeah, I did always. I was a dancer first, then acting, a lot of stage. So.
Yeah, did you do school plays and community theater in the early years?
I went to a private school that was basically for actors and dancers that didn't have to go to school, so
yeah.
I got a lot of work outside of it. I was dancing with the balancing school, so we got out really early, so basically very little schooling. But yeah.
Did you do any dancing in your early years?
I still do. I'm not allowed to tell the movie I just finished. I just finished dancing in a movie at my age, 68, and yeah, I'm still dancing actually. So early years, I did. I toured with a band with my brother. It was a show band, a lot of dancing. I did shows. I did off Broadway.
Are you trained in all types of dancing?
Yeah. Well, I was trained with ballet, specifically with the School of American Ballet, which was Ballantine, and then there was it was all very white, and everybody kind of grew up walking the same, and I was a tomboy, and it kind of scared me that everybody was being so, just I don't know, it just seemed to be a different personality than mine. So I went over to Alvinelli, which was an old black school, a black company, but the classes were open to everyone. And so I was really in love with dance as a form of communication, which I'm still working on because I have a nonprofit that I'm doing that with. And yeah, I got to do jazz and African dance and, modern. Yep, everything, tap.
Yeah.
No tap at that school. That was another school. No tap at Alvinelli or Valentine's.
Yeah. Are you born? So you're born and raised in New York.
I'm actually born here in California until I was 4. Both my parents are French, so I was sent to France. I didn't actually speak English till I was 5. But then, yeah, spent most of my time in New York.
Mm-hmm. Did you go to a lot? Did you go to a lot of Broadway shows growing up?
Yeah, I did because, like I said, well, my dad took us, but also the school that I was in, a lot of the kids were in Broadway shows. Stephanie Mills opened up. She was the first Dorothy in The Wiz. I remember going backstage and crying. I was so proud of her. Scott Jacoby. And then I knew the producer of a couple of things, so he gave me free passes to Broadway. So yeah, I auditioned for a lot of Broadway. I auditioned for Bob Fosse, for Tommy Tune. That audition, but good. That was pretty funny. That was for the movie, actually, for Bessel Whorehouse in Texas. And
oh,
it was funny because the audition itself, you're supposed to be a very happy hooker.
Yeah.
And I did really great until Lee Strasberg. So I was studying with Lee Strasberg and his son, John.
Oh, yeah.
John came walking into the theater, and I was like, oh, no, try to do method. Okay, I'm a hooker. Okay, and that immediately was not a happy thing. So I danced a happy dance, very sad. It messed me up, but, yeah, I remember that moment. I also had a big audition with Woody Allen, but I'm not going to go into that. That was so, oh, gosh. But yeah, no, I was doing a lot of, that stuff in New York City.
Yeah, it was a magical time. There was no internet. Everybody knew each other. Everybody went over each other's apartments and socialized. It's not like today, with social media, everyone's divided and they only talk through screens,
Well, there was, I'm not sure I would see that much of a change with that. Actors still have to, rehearse. They still have to go to auditions. They see each other. Even though, I don't know. Do I like auditioning? Because right now, I love auditioning, but I'm saying right now, auditioning, because of COVID, started doing it from home, online auditions. So a lot of agents and a lot of auditioning is done still online.
Right.
By Skyping, which is kind of nice because you don't have to really get in the car and go anywhere. But I do miss being there live, but usually for the callbacks you are.
Nice. When you were learning by Strasberg, what did he teach you that you took away that you still use to this day?
I actually didn't really like method acting. It was too painful. But I did study with them and all the other teachers for a couple of years until I was told, Lee Strasberg, they want you to get into your real sensitive spot and everything. And they told me I was a little too sensitive and I could back up. But plus you're using your life experiences and stuff like that. And I wanted to use more of my imagination. Or maybe I just didn't get it. But then I went to Pasadena City College not a while back. I went really late to school and then UCLA.
Yeah. And
I read all of Proust.
Oh, yeah.
And while I read all of Proust, In Search of Lost Time, I speak French and English. I finally understood method acting. Finally, I got it, And actually, there's something I do Foodle every day. There's Wordle and Foodle. And Foodle has a little bit of confetti that shoots out.
Yeah.
Every time that happens, I go right back to a really joyful moment as a child. It just hits me every single time I see it. So I finally kind of got a grasp over method acting, through Proust, because, it's that Madeline thing. You bite into it and you're shot back to that moment.
Right.
But it was I graduated with comp lit, comparative literature, and so I also had to study a lot of literature, and I did get a much better understanding of method acting through that, and critical analysis of text and stuff. Yeah.
Did you do any theater at UCLA?
I actually did a lot of, I was comp lit, but I took a lot of my classes at World Arts and Culture, so yeah, I did perform.
Yeah, did any of your
classes? In a non-profit, we did stage stuff. It was mostly creative activism, which is what I'm currently doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically putting together, through the visual and performing arts, things that are going to change the world or for a statement. That particular one was AIDS in the world. So they did a whole big production thing. And then I did, I gravitated back to the dance and the editing and all that stuff to get away from the complet, which was all literature and words. Mm.
Did any of your class?
It's easier to express just moving.
Yeah. Did any of your classmates go on to become successful in acting?
In my school, in New York, they were already
Either one, yeah.
Robbie Benson, Christopher Norris, who had her series. Robbie still, I don't know if you remember Beauty and the Beast.
Oh yeah.
Beast.
Oh yeah.
The cartoon one. He's singing, but he did a lot. He did.
I remember Robbie Benson from One on One.
Oh really? Well, he married
Carla DeVito.
Yeah. And they are absolutely insanely, unbelievably sweet, mean, in love.
Yeah.
Like every single day. I met, they just, I've never met two people that are really so much in love with each other. I've met her. I met Carla.
Yeah.
And their daughter. I know their daughter. She's now living in, I think, Hawaii now. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know there's a lot of other people. Irene Cara, who had done sang Fame. Stephanie already talked about. Julie Budd, who did a lot of stuff. Pia Zadora.
Oh yeah.
Pia Zadora. She actually helped get me not suspended from school. She's a really good liar.
Yeah.
Wow, there's a whole bunch more that are involved in production or music. Yeah.
Yeah.
They were already acting as kids.
There's
the ones that were child actors that are no longer around. I mean, Scott Jacoby, I'm not really sure.
Oh, yeah.
Tennessee, who was in Dark Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, David. I used to go out if I went with, I didn't go out, but like, let's say we were friends and I would go get ice cream with him or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was insane. If one person recognized them within a minute after school, and all the kids are running around, you'd have all these huge fans jumping on them. I actually loved Dark Shadows, so at that time.
Oh yeah, I talked to Karen Lee Scott a couple years ago.
Oh really?
Yeah.
It's actually running. Where is it running? I just saw a few of them. It was in the middle of the night. It was pretty funny because it was shot live. You made a mistake. That was it.
Yeah.
You made a lot of mistakes, so it was fun. Like you'd hear something drop backstage, and or they messed up their lines. Yeah.
I'm sure they had
Jonathan Frid, wasn't? Yeah, Jonathan Frid, Barnabas.
Right. I'm sure they had clever editing on the show too.
Yeah.
So how do you get cast in Horror High?
Excuse me?
How do you get cast in Horror High?
My father was a film distributor.
Mm-hmm.
And the director, well, actually, it was first, there's a movie, at the time it was called Death is a Family Affair, and now it's called, wait a minute, it'll come to me, where's my glass? Now it's called Scum of the Earth.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that was shot in the same time. So Scum of the Earth was also a horror film, and that movie I've been interviewed for quite a few times, actually. That was one hell of an experience shooting that movie. That was done in Hemp Hill, Texas. And then I went, well, actually, Walter is the one that sent out for me from Horror High, but I went to do Scum of the Earth first and came back, and then I stayed with Rosie and her husband. Rosie is the star of Horror High. Because my father was distributor, and it sort of was a good idea for them to maybe have the daughter there. Maybe they would get distributed.
Right.
You know? Yeah. Rosie Holitic. That's right.
Oh, yes. She was coming off of Playboy at the time.
Well, she was married to the producer.
Right.
So, and that's who I stayed with, the two of them. Then for one day, I went off and stayed in the same hotel where Pat Carden was staying, and that started a fun rumor, untrue but fun.
I've never heard the rumor, so I'm not aware.
All right, well, there was I'll say it out loud, but I think I wasn't really very well liked by the makeup artist, and I think she started that rumor. But that's fine, it wasn't true. But yeah, I actually still am in touch with Pat.
Yeah, I talked to him a couple of years ago. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he was a child actor, and I believe, he just moved from Pasadena. Where did he go? He went somewhere. He just moved somewhere away from everything.
Yeah, I have no idea. But, what did you think of the script?
Of Horror High?
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with the script. The script was fine. It was fun. It was campy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it should have been more campy. It wasn't campy enough. It was done on a very serious note. I wish it had been campier, a little bit more fun like we do now.
Mm-hmm.
There was more fun behind the scenes. The script was fine. It didn't look like a bad script if you read it.
Yeah, it was kind of like a modern day, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story.
Well, no, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde has a lot more complexity to it.
Well, I guess that was
much more complexity to it. It's just a guy who I know what you're saying, the two different personalities, but, I would say more like a werewolf thing.
All that too, yeah.
Something just happens, and then you just turn into something that you have no control over, yeah.
Right. And at this time, horror was going through a weird transformation, after Night of the Living Dead. People didn't know where to go with horror for a while until The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre changed those genres of horror. And this was like right in the middle of that. And this was a PG-rated horror film.
Was it PG, really?
Yeah.
Well, it should have been PG. I wish it was 13 for me, because I was watching the basic effects that they did. Like the movie I just got off of now, it's all going to be CGI. We don't really see anything. It's going to be bloody as hell, but we don't see anything because, it's green screen, and then you just, we got CGI. Everything's all changed. Back then, when they went to when he chops the woman's head off, the teacher,
mm-hmm.
They literally had all this, they had a curved, what was it? It was a chopper, paper cutter
mm-hmm.
that was used, and they put her head underneath there. First of all, they put her head underneath there with a real one, and he's jumping up and down. I would never in a million years have done that. She's in character.
Yeah.
Then what they do is they had a curved one go around her neck, and they put all this kind of makeup thing on, and then through and up, there's this very thin pipe, and it went into her mouth,
mm-hmm.
so that when they pulled down on the blade, her neck would shoot open.
Wow. And
all the Cairo syrup would pour out of her mouth and out of her neck. It was really gross to watch, because but I didn't. That's not the one that I went down on. I went down. I sort of got really dizzy and down to the floor where they chopped the fingers off.
Right.
But yeah, they used very basic special effects, and now it's just CGI. They don't need to do anything. They just take off. They just make the arm go and whatever. But that was actually Pat had a lot of Cairo syrup put on him at one time. He's on the floor. I believe it was towards the end when he's all shot up. And I had to, he pulled me over. He's like, Michelle, please. And I went, yeah, what? He goes, can you get my girlfriend at the airport? Because he's still lying on the ground. They're still shooting. And I was touching him, you know, I lean over and whatever. Anyway, I ran to the airport to go get his girlfriend, and the police stopped me. I had Cairo syrup all over. I looked like the bloody mess running down the airport. But, yeah, so no, I mean, and then also we didn't have the gore. You're mentioning The Exorcist. I'm trying to figure out, when did Soldier Blue come out?
Soldier Blue.
Soldier Blue came out way before The Exorcist, and Soldier Blue wasn't a horror film.
Yeah.
But that was one of the most graphic movies that I can remember. No, there was another one. Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, Soldier Blue, there were people passing out in the aisles. You know, boy, we've come a lot far. People were getting sick. I had to walk out. You know, they were chopping. It was when they came into the Indian village.
Yeah.
Oh, Candace Bergen was in it, very young.
Huh.
And they go into the Indian village and they totally slaughter the people. And it was so graphic. They put children's heads on sticks. They grab a baby out of a woman's stomach.
Wow.
It was one of the most graphic things I think that most of us had ever seen. And even though I remember my brother taking me to see Frankenstein, which was it, Andy Warhol's Frankenstein, rated X and 20.
Yes, I love that movie.
Oh my gosh, it was the most disgusting. Well, it was hysterical though.
Yeah.
Because he's quoting Shakespeare all the time, and I think I remember. Oh yeah. Oh, he starts feeling the intestines of the woman, and while he has sex with her. I mean, it was. We love that movie.
I love.
At the ending, I remember.
I love horror.
Going through him, his liver is hanging on the tip, and the liver is literally floating right in front of your face.
Yeah.
TV, while he gives a big Shakespearean speech. So I think that was before The Exorcist. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But The Exorcist it wasn't that it was just bloody. It was psychologically and religiously and every which way horrifying.
Yes, absolutely. Going back
voices
to...
after that? I heard voices after that.
Yeah.
Did you hear like a voice calling your name in the middle of the night and you were just horrified that something could just jump into you? Oh.
After seeing The Exorcist? Not really.
All right, well, I can't really see horror films.
Yeah.
Especially right before going to bed, forget it, I won't be able to sleep. So, the last thing, the horror film I went to see was Don't Let Me In, with Chloe Moretz, and then who's the kid now that's in the Something Dog movie. It's a fantastic movie, even though everybody tells me it was better in Swedish, was it? Or one of those countries that did it first. If you didn't see Don't Let Me In, she's a vampire, a young girl vampire. I thought it was amazing because, like you say, if you have a really good script and really good actors, you're not, it doesn't matter how much gore or whatever, you're there for the story and the acting. And it was really good, so if you've never seen it. But I didn't count on all the movies, the preliminary movies were all horror films. I was sitting there like horror films. I was like closing my eyes,
Going back to Austin Stoker, who passed away. So yeah, you had a crush on him on the set?
Yeah. He was so nice, and he was such a gentleman. He was so soft-spoken, beautiful eyes. Just the sweetest guy, really. I'm not sure he was that happy about being in that movie, if I remember, but I'm not positive. But for me, I just have a feeling like he was a serious actor.
Yeah.
He had already done a lot of stuff, and he was continuing after that. He just kept going, and he's never stopped acting. He's very successful. I don't think he was all that happy. I think he started to realize maybe this is a little corny, And then, I don't know. But then there was all the football people, too. The Dallas Cowboys. We had, and then Mean Joe Green from whatever team he was on.
Right.
Mean Joe Green.
Yeah.
So,
Austin Stoker, he had a great career. I mean, he did a voice for the Planet of the Apes series. He was on the $6 Million Man. I mean, he had a huge career, and this was just a footnote.
well, Austin just finished wrapping a couple of movies. He just did Give It Till It Hurts, 2022. I mean, I'm going down his list. I mean, he did stop a little bit for a while, but he was on, yeah, I don't know. He's never really stopped working. He was very successful in what he did. But he did do Return to the Planet of the Apes as a series. He did 13 episodes of that. I see Horror High. So, oh yeah, well, he didn't do that much before that, actually. Monty Nash, Trouble Comes to Town, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was still early in his career, which must have started late, because he couldn't have been that young. 92, 80, 92, 20, 92, yeah. Wow, he was, yeah. So he was a late person, but successful.
Yeah.
Trinidad, he was, you know, he's from Trinidad and the West Indies. And
lots of good stuff. Was your reaction genuine when you saw the skull?
When I saw the what?
When you saw the skull in the biology class?
Oh, listen. I was somewhat still very shy, and I was horrified about the prospect that I was going to have to scream. I didn't think I would be able to do it.
Right.
And I didn't know where to practice screaming, because everywhere you would go, somebody would hear you.
Right.
So my screams actually ended up having to get dubbed in. I don't know what I sounded like. I don't know what happened when I screamed. You know, I mean, was it genuine? I mean, I'm an actor. I mean, I saw it. I screamed. I knew what it looked like. But I didn't scream the way that one, the movie that I just finished now, I told, somebody said, oh my, they just bashed this man's head in. It's a huge sex. Well, I can't tell you. Anyway, it was, they bashed this man's head in front of us on a future planet. And then the woman runs up and they chop her arm off. And it's supposed to be very graphic, so we're supposed to have a very strong reaction to it. And I was like, turned around to someone else and go, oh my gosh, please don't let them ask me to scream, because I'm still traumatized over Horror High of not being able to scream.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think about it. And then when they did it, I let out a scream that was so loud, I horrified everybody standing around me, and it happened on every tape. So I finally realized it's not about, you know, thinking about it. Just react. You know, don't think about it, just react. And so it's kind of late in my life to be able to learn that. But I do remember not being able to, having a really hard time. I was horrified about that point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had gained 20. I'm supposed to be sexy in that movie, and I had gained like from the movie right before that, Scum of the Earth. I wasn't in Scum of the Earth. I was. I helped with everything on the side, because they had already been cast. It was very, very, like 6 people in the movie. It's done in Hemphill, Texas, in the middle of, you know, very interesting people. And so I had to go get a dead possum. I had to, you know, and then to get a dead possum, I went with the townspeople. They were like 14. I was 19. They said, 19 years old, just an old maid. You know, everybody there was married by the time they were 15. And we'd have gun practice afterwards. We did jokes involving guns. It was crazy. There was red ants. There was huge, to me, from being from New York, they're not June bugs. They're giant flying roaches. There was, you know, and it was a very, so I did, and then I did, I'm listed under having done costumes. So basically I got the dead possum, and I scraped up all the costumes and made them look dirty and whatever, but that's it. They have me down as costume buy, which is kind of, you know, silly. But I had all this time to just eat.
Yeah.
Eat all of this chili and all of this stuff, and it's a dry county, so they made their own liquor, which I will never have again, by the way. Pure stuff from the stills, and yeah, that was a crazy thing. And I went straight from the backwoods to go to Horror High, where I was up in the higher classes, because I was staying with, you know, the husband and Rosie, and so I had a pretty much bad culture shock there. And in a world of real gossip, let me tell you, just even on me, but I mean, all you would do is sit there and hear gossip from other people, and yeah, it was a big change between the two movies. But I had really gained weight, so they put me in this horrible yellow thing, to hide my stomach, and I already told you the makeup lady didn't hate me, so she did that to my hair. Put me in those freaking stupid flips, and I don't know what she did, But anyway, yeah.
How was Larry?
I would ever walk around.
How was Larry Stouffer as a director?
He was wonderful, and he was really nice. And there was also another rumor there going around with me and him. It was really funny because I was inside the car once with Larry and with Pat. Mm-hmm. We're all getting dropped off, and then Larry says, "Oh, well, I'll drop you guys off." And then Pat says, No, she's not with you, And I'm like, what's going on? And there was all these rumors, but none of which were true. Larry was married, and Pat had his girlfriend, and I was very single. And as a director, he was really, really nice. He was gentle. He was sweet. He was great. He made things, fun, but a really, really nice guy. The only person I would even, was the football players, like John Nyland, who was on Dallas. Dallas?
Yeah.
I remember was sitting in his makeup chair, and I just happened to get my makeup done, and I'm walking by, and he grabbed my wrist and literally threw me kind of backwards on his, across his lap and said, "Hey, get me a bologna sandwich," or some kind of sandwich. And I was like, "Excuse me?" It was very, Joe Green played cards. He still owes me $17. Well, I guess I'm not going to collect. I don't think
I don't think so.
Yeah, well, so a lot of the stuff that was happening behind the scenes were kind of, it was fun, but nothing like the stories from Scum of the Earth. That was crazy, but this was, it was a fun shoot. And, yeah. I do remember when I have to walk down, I don't know if it was cut or not, because a lot of stuff was cut, but I had to walk down the hallway crying. I just saw that skull. And I'm supposed to walk down the hallway, and I'm trying to make myself cry. Again, I would have no problem now. Just react. But anyway, I'm walking down the hallway, and all the football players are playing police officers, and they're walking up the hallway with their backs to the camera. And I looked up, and they were all making really funny faces. While I'm trying to cry, they were being like totally ridiculous and playing a joke, and it was fun.
Yeah. So at Scum of the Earth, I mean, you were a costume designer. Was that a specialty of yours?
Actually, believe it or not, I have designed costumes for shows, but they didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I mean, actually, I did afterwards. But my brother had a band that he toured in, and he produced a couple of shows. I did all the costumes for it.
Yeah.
The big producer on Broadway who had done Sweet Charity was Joe Harris. He was really big. He was pushing me to do costumes, but it's not what I wanted to act, so I did them for my brother, but that's it. And now, I mean, I've gone to Goodwill a lot. I bought tons of clothes that are really, really, I have a really good eye with clothes. I like to dress people up, or whatever. And it's fun. Clothes are fun. It's another form of expression. Yeah. Everything in a movie that describes character. Like, I think it was, what was it, Cries and Whispers? It was, the director. Anyway, sets, designs. I just saw Amsterdam. Mm-hmm. I'm now on the SAG nominating committee, so I had to see it before it came out. And it was at the El Capitan, so it was I recognized so many people in the business that were on the carpet to go see it, and I actually really, really loved the movie. The reviews are bad, but I think they're crazy. It's really, wonderful to watch. But again, when you look at the cinematography, and then you look at the, set design, every single thing that contributes to what makes a movie good, it's all fascinating, and I love learning and doing all of it. I've been to South Africa. I always thought it'd be so cool, and I didn't know how many times. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many times, 7 or 8 times.
Yeah.
you know, and I was working on a project where we go in the caves and we shoot, you know, stuff and everything, and I love everything, the lighting, this, that, whatever. It's all fascinating. I didn't know any of that when we did Horror High. You know, you just go in, you say your lines, and have fun between takes, and that was it. There was something that did happen. It was my first. It was my first movie. Well,
Right.
I actually did more. I just got a message. Like I said, I'm more focused on theater and stuff like that and touring, so I didn't do that many movies. But this one, I didn't know about the sound.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they wire you for sound, which they don't do anymore.
Yeah.
And, well, I mean, on the movies that I know, they're not really. But anyway, and I mean, they still do it, of course, but more with the boom. And I went into the bathroom, and these girls, like I said, they gossip, and that's what they did. And finally, one of them just turned around and turned white and said, "Is your sound on?" And I hadn't turned it off. And we ran outside, and all the guys were sitting around the sound man,
Yeah.
listening to everything, you know. But I know Pat was very serious, you know, in what he was doing. Like I said, the cops, the football players were all just there to play. But Rosie and Pat took it very seriously.
That's awesome. So, like, as the 70s wore on, you said you were on tour. What were you dancing in a show?
In the 70s, I was touring. I was touring in a top 40 show, with a top 40 thing, and then I toured, and then I was doing summer stock, and I was doing, you know, performing on stage in different ways and venues, and off Broadway, and yeah, I had a very, very big audition. Actually, the Woody Allen thing, they already knew me. He'd already seen me. It was a prep, and this was the final thing. And I blew it so bad. Again, I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, can I ask you what movie it was?
I don't remember what movie it was. I believe it was for any movie that they had pushed me because they thought that I would be perfect for some of this project. It was Julia Taylor, who has cast everything for him.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew, it's a long story. I'll save that for some other time.
Okay, as far as summer stock in the theater goes, like anything...
And one time in my life, I want to not burn my waffle. Sorry.
Okay. How about, you know, as theater goes, anything stand out, you know, during that time?
Stand out during that time?
Yeah, anything you're proud of?
Oh, I'm proud of everything. I can't believe I got away singing for so long, because my brother got the voice. The wrong person in my family got the voice, and he made his living his whole life singer. I was really, like I said, if you put the music on, I can act. And I can definitely move. I'm a really good, like, improvisational dancer.
Right.
And, I mean, when I was younger, if I go to clubs, like, people would all stop and watch. And then when was it that we did that? I don't want to call it, dirty dancing. I guess that's the best way it would be known. If you watch Dirty Dancing, I love doing that. I loved it. And I was so good at it. So I remember at one time I was, like a cocktail waitressing across from Universal Studios, and part of my job became like performing that with somebody. You know, we'd get up there and we would perform it. A lot of very big celebrities used to come down into that thing and watch, and that was fun. But the thing is I don't have a good voice, and so I would really have to fake it. But because I can act and because I can move, I was able to. So people would say, well, can you sing? And I go, well, if you're watching me, I'm really good. If your eyes are closed, you're going to say, what the hell is that sound? You know, so it's very limited. It was very frustrating because you're hearing in your voice, you want to belt out and you can't, you know. But But yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun traveling and going over, doing things I did in France and other places, Germany, and most of my family is in France, so that's it's always good to be able to get back there.
I noticed you did a music video for Gloria Estefan.
Oh wow! How'd you find that out?
It's called imdb.com.
Really?
Yeah, that's on there.
I'm on imdb.com. I'm on there. I never saw that.
Yeah, it's in the other works section of your biography.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'll check that out because there's a lot of stuff that's not up on IMDb because I didn't know about it till and then so.
Oh yeah.
I was on General Hospital a lot. I was a doctor. I was an intern, then a doctor on General Hospital. But because I can't give them the exact dates or episodes, they not put it up there.
Oh, that sucks.
And then the Gloria Estefan, that was pretty fun because they called me in at the last second.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently they had a lot of extras that were dancing, and I forgot who the director was. I think he became somebody big. I remember being so impressed with the director of that video. I don't remember. I've done quite a lot of dance videos, so I don't remember would know even what bands they are and stuff, like in New York and everything. But that particular one I remember because they called me at the last second because I was a real dancer, and I guess they wanted better dancers. But everybody had already memorized everything. They'd already been working all day on the song. And that was one of the few songs that I ever moved to that I went, oh my gosh, I'm dancing white. Like I just had I don't know why, because I guess you were supposed to move a certain way and I didn't feel that way. But that was great, and Gloria was wonderful. She autographed everybody, gave everybody a CD and autographed it, and she was really young then, and yeah, Rhythm's Gonna Get You. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I did one in New York. Honestly, don't remember the band, and it was a dead of winter. It was like wind factor way below zero. And we were sweating all day dancing inside under the hot lights. Mm-hmm. And then outside, they wanted us outside to make it like the band is coming in like a red carpet, and we have to jump on them. Yeah. And they didn't want us in coats. And it was freaking below zero. We just finished sweating all day inside. This was non-union, just saying. This would never happen with union. I'm union now. And union is great. The movie I just did, they were late a little bit with our lunches. They have late charges. We had a late charge of up to $180 for a late charge for lunch.
Yeah.
Which doesn't even matter because craft services is there all the time. So anyway, it's crazy. But anyway, on this particular film, yeah, and I kept making it to the lead band member because he had a big coat on, and I just wanted the coat on me for a minute. But anyway, I got really sick on that. I think most people got really sick. I think I almost got pneumonia on that one.
Oh, that's sad. I see that you did this thing it was on your YouTube channel, Inside the Stars, where you had a French accent. That's
me. I did that for a community thing. They wanted something, and I wrote that and just did it and went in and had it done. And so, I watch it now and I cringe. But I wanted to do something that just showed off that I could do. At that time, I really would have loved to have done something like Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I was just trying to do different characters, but it kind of came out really,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I was, there was a lot of outtakes on that. There was a lot of bloopers on that because I was writing along the way. And yeah. I could hide that. I think I did put it online, though, for fun.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
And there's stuff that I shot at UCLA. I think I have myself running around dancing.
Yeah.
In one of them. But you know what? I put that particular one, that's the one I did for UCLA, just about 14 years ago. Because I just graduated in 2008.
Congrats.
So I think that was in 2008 that I did that video or something like that. It was one of the last things I did. And it was due that day or something. I literally ran to the beach with a camera and stuck it in the sand and just danced in front of it with no music, and then kept moving the camera and finding someplace else to shoot it. You know, visually, there's so much fun stuff in that that I did it, and I didn't know that I could flip the viewer to watch what I was doing, so I was totally guessing. And the thing that I was just, you know, getting up there and doing it. There was one homeless person sitting on the beach watching, and I didn't realize until I was doing the editing, which the editing is pretty corny. I had to do it like freaking an hour to give it in time. But I didn't realize that how many cuts that, you know, I was standing and going and dancing somewhere else, that I'm exactly on rhythm.
Yeah.
And there's even a point where I lift my arm up and the waves crash when I do that. And I didn't realize that actually I was listening to the ocean subconsciously. And the ocean has a rhythm, and then I can put that onto almost any song, and it still fits. It's kind of interesting. I also love music. I told you I love music, so the work that I'm doing now, finishing up on the stuff that I did in South Africa.
Right.
I did about 2 or 3 shorts over there, and I'm trying to find original music for it, but I'm loving sound, just using sounds. You know, a lot of times when you watch horror movies, the scariest part's not the music, it's the sounds that they can create. Just think of the Psycho, you know, you know, and just those kind of background sounds, which can really be horrifying, even just in a creak in the door. So I love working with sound. So, yeah.
How long have you been into photography for?
Forever. And I think the reason I didn't really follow through with it is just it feels so easy to me that I don't understand. Like, I just got hired. I don't know if you were on my Facebook.
I did. I saw you with Norman Lear.
Norman Lear.
Yeah.
Norman Lear. I am never, ever in my life again ever going to feel that I'm not loved, because that guy loves humanity, everything he created.
Yep.
All in the family, all the things to really squirt out racism and the work that he's done. He's over 100 years old. He's got a new project coming out. Wow. That was so amazing. And I got hired to photograph that, and I just shoot with my iPhone now. I'm technically totally challenged. No matter how many times I've tried to learn how to work a camera, it doesn't happen. I just see it now, truly, and I take the picture. So it just comes out that it's so easy that I don't understand how it could possibly be really good. But everybody's going, oh my gosh, you're so good, you're so good. And I'm saying, okay, just same thing with dancing, you know, like dancing to me came very easily. But people who really, really worked on it, of course they flew by me, you know? I mean, it's really great to have a talent, but you have to start off with talent to be really, you know, good in a lot of things. But the more you work on it, the better you get. You know, if you just sit there and you're just happy or natural, you know, you might just, there's so many different things to learn in anything. So I'm a very big advocate of just continuously learning.
Absolutely, I am too. So that event went well that you saw Norman Lear at?
The what?
The event that Norman Lear was at, that event went well?
John Turtlebaum was the moderator, and John, I mean, I know him already with his wife Amy. They have the Creative Visions Foundation. They're my fiscal sponsors. That foundation is because of their son, Eldon, and this is Dan Eldon. They made a movie on him just recently. He was one of the photojournalists that was in Somalia in 1992, was it? That he was 21, the youngest photographer, you know, interviewer, and they had just bombed a building in Somalia. So they were leaving, but the people all ran and said, "Please, please, you got to come and take pictures. You got to show the world what they just did." So he went down with, I believe, 2 or 3 other people that were in, you know, journalism, and the death of children got the crowd so upset that it became a mob, and they were stoned and stabbed to death at the age of 21. So the mother and the daughter have started this foundation in his name, and it's just basically helping people who do creative activism. A lot of people that do movies are there under their umbrella. A lot of documentary, a lot of, stuff. And, yeah, it's cool. And so they were throwing the event with Norman Lear, and John Turtlebaum directed the make.
Mm.
That's just a recent one. He also did one of my favorite movies. He did Cool Runnings. Remember that
Ah,
one?
love that movie.
That was
I saw
a Jamaican bobsled team.
I saw it in the theater twice when I was 10.
Yeah, I love that movie. That's John Turtlebaum. And then he did Las Vegas with De Niro.
Yes.
Anyway, he's got a lot of stuff he's done.
Michael.
The mod.
Oh no, he didn't direct Michael. He directed Phenomenon with John Travolta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that too. So he was the moderator, and he was absolutely phenomenal. He was like one of the best moderators I've ever seen. First of all, he loves Norman Lear. Oh gosh.
Mm-hmm.
I've got another phone call coming in.
Okay, real quick, do you have any upcoming projects you could mention?
The ones that I'm working on myself.
That's about it?
Yeah, the ones that I'm working on myself. I do have a nonprofit, so I'm intending to go pretty much all over the world with my cameras and everything, and I work with kids, basically teaching them creative activism. I think I'm going to just use it as environment, and have them all create something to help. And then it'll also teach them to fight for their own causes. Anyway, it's hard to put into words. But when I do travel and try to do a project, I'm a little bit distracted.
Yeah.
I have severe ADHD. Oh, I put myself in the projects, too. I mean, I dance in them with the other dancers. And anytime that I go to a different country or culture, I will learn to dance. So I was thinking of doing that, but I better hurry up because I'm getting old now. Some of these dances are getting really hard. And I get really distracted. Like in South Africa, I saw, these most amazing hairstyles on the guys and the women there. So I started photographing all of that. I said, I'll make a little book. Or when I was in Germany, I was watching the way everybody was eating ice cream.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be a great book. I love finding things in one culture that exist in every culture. The way somebody enjoys an ice cream. There was a big sharp wall in South Africa, and all the tourists that got there. I'm really good at making people do things. I had them all get up on the wall and jump, and I just saw that everybody jumps, has this big smile on their face. I want to go around. I mean, it's crazy. I just get distracted by everything. And there's also so many amazing people doing amazing things in small little villages, and I love seeing that, So, it's pretty funny because everything that I wanted to do in acting, I realized that I can do in real life.
Beautiful. Michelle, thank you for coming on today. I hope this was comfortable for you.
Yeah, it was fun.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. You have yourself a happy holiday season and be safe out there.
Yeah, you too. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Michelle Falerne. Ain't she a sweetheart? She's a very fascinating lady. It was a great talk today. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.